we're recording.
All right. I will now call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioner. Today is Thursday, August 15th, 2024. The time is 7 p.m. Please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have a roll call, Mary Beth?
Yes. Commissioner Bendy?
Here.
Commissioner Bowe?
Here.
Commissioner Halting?
Here.
Commissioner Leduc?
Here.
Commissioner Matza?
Here.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Here.
Commissioner Grau?
Here. Does anyone have anything to amend, add, or delete to the current agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to public comment on non-agenda items. I don't think you're here for that. We will move on to recognition of the Eagle Scout, Cassandra Jewell.
Tonight, it is my honor and privilege to acknowledge Cassie Jewell, who recently earned her Eagle Scout rank with a project that improved our park district. I have known Cassie since she was in preschool, and she has always been driven, enthusiastic, and service-minded. Cassie is only a freshman at Maine South, but already she has shown tremendous initiative and motivation to be a leader and asset to our community. Cassie designed and executed a project to significantly improve the trails at Wildwood. She and her team of scouts worked hard in May to weed and widen Wildwood's unpaved paths around the prairie, putting down several wheelbarrow loads worth of gravel. They also updated the signpost for the educational prairie signage. Cassie has been a Wildwood volunteer for over a year, so when the time came for her to pick an Eagle project, her first choice was to create one that would benefit Wildwood. She reached out to understand our needs, designed her project, raised donations, coordinated with Wildwood and other businesses to secure the needed materials, and recruited and oversaw Scout volunteers to help complete her project. Speaking on behalf of the Park Board of Commissioners and the Park District itself, we appreciate Cassie's hard work and dedication to both Wildwood and her community. And Margaret will be taking our picture.
Congratulations, and you don't have to stay unless you want to get a civics lessons tonight. It's probably a short meeting. I move to approve the minutes from the June 20th, 2024 regular board meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Approval of closed session minutes. I move to approve the closed session minutes as identified in Exhibit A and maintain these minutes in the closed meeting records of the Park Ridge Park District, finding good cause exists to maintain them as confidential.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, can I have a roll call?
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Halting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Aye.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Aye. Sorry. Report of park officials. We are going to update our calendar of board meetings for the budget session. Well, I guess I'll make the motion and we can talk about if anybody wants to discuss it. I move to approve the updated 2024 calendar of board meetings to include a 7 p.m. start time on Thursday, October 17th, 2024, and Thursday, November 7th, 2024, and call for an October 29th, 2024 special board meeting at 6 p.m.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? We pretty much went through this at the last meeting. All right. Can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Halting?
Aye.
Commissioner Leduc?
Aye.
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Aye.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Aye. All right, we move on to Attorney Price.
Is that on? So, good evening. The, before you is a resolution appointing a deputy secretary. So it's been the tradition of this Board of Commissioners to appoint one of the commissioners as the secretary. And that's typically just fine. We can get your signatures on the things we need to get your signatures on in due course as volunteers who have, full-time lives outside of your role as a commissioner. However, with the advent of the First Amendment auditors and a couple of other things that are in your future related to some of the projects that are approved, there is a more urgent need more frequently to have things signed, attested to, or now certified. And under the park code, the only person that can do those things is the secretary or a board secretary deputy. And so to facilitate some of that happening so that we don't have to drag you away from work to come over here to stamp something as certified and then seal it, we need to take the official action by resolution to appoint a deputy secretary. That's a frequent occurrence. It's a common practice in other places. And so I've prepared one. It's before you. It names Mary Beth as the deputy secretary. One, because she and I deal with this stuff frequently on the sort of on the front line. Two, John's got other things to do. And three, she's actually got physical custody of the stamp and seal. So for all those reasons, I think it makes sense to appoint Mary Beth the deputy secretary.
I just have one question that popped in my head. Do we then find out what she signs in between?
The only thing she ever would sign as his deputy secretary is to attest to your signature. That's one of the things the secretary does. The other is to certify a copy, and there's no reason the board needs to know about certified copies. Frankly, I'm talking to Mary Beth about it. I don't understand why the First Amendment auditor wants a certified copy. A certified copy, its only purpose in the state of Illinois is to be self-authenticating in a court of law. So we don't have to call the board secretary to say, yes, this is a true and correct copy. It self-authenticates. Doesn't mean it's relevant, doesn't mean it proves anything. And I don't know why a First Amendment auditor wants it certified, but somebody has given that instruction, and so they are running their program, and so they are here demanding a certified copy.
Yes.
So
And Mary Beth is doing the work. I had asked in the past why the secretary is on the board, because Mary Beth's doing all the work and we're signing it.
well, it's been, I don't know. I mean, there's no legal requirement that it not be. It's been the tradition of this board that it has been. Other boards are like that, where all the officers are board members with a deputy in the background to accomplish the day-to-day grind.
She's doing the real work. On that note, I just want to say we should be proud of our staff for handling that First Amendment inquiry. So, good work. Any other discussion? All right. I will move to approve resolution number 24-5, a resolution appointing a deputy secretary.
Second.
Further discussion? May you call the roll?
Commissioner Leduc,
Aye.
Commissioner Matza,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel, Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Halting,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Aye. All right, we move on to Executive Director.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I just want to say congratulations to the Recreation Department for concluding a successful summer filled with various camps, programs, events. Their hard work does not go unrecognized. Second, with summer ending, yesterday was the first day for the Beyond the Bell program. So Beyond the Bell started yesterday. Today was day 2. I do have a meeting with Ben Collins scheduled for Monday to review the BTB IGA agreement since that expired this past summer. So more to come on that. We'll also develop ways to further strengthen our working relationship. Including your packet, we'll talk briefly about it in the finance section too, was the budget schedule on page 15 shows a detailed budget schedule that staff's working through. The first thing that was due at the beginning of the month were proposed capital projects and expenses. Currently, Superintendent Larson, Wolf, and Armour are reviewing these to see how they fit within our budget and also reanalyzing our current capital assessment replacement plan. Yesterday, Prospect Park hosted the Stroll 7th annual back to school bash. It was a really great time. The moon bounce was a good place to be at. Kids were enjoying it. But special thank you to all the Friends of the Parks Foundation who attended and Margaret Holler for all of her assistance, ensuring the event was a huge success. Later on today, Terry Wolf will speak about the Oakton project, but progress is underway at Oakton. A lot of things are going on there. A lot of development has been done since the last board tours. As we stated, we'll do one again in the fall. But that hallway in between where like the studio ice rink is going to be and the multi-purpose room, all those floors have been poured. So it's all concrete. So the multi-purpose room, the training room, that whole hallway, everything, it just makes the building seem completely different. This week, they began pouring the concrete for the new main entrance. So that whole area where the main entrance, the front desk, that's all being poured too. So a lot of progress is being made. Their goal is to have all floors poured by the winter, even for the turf building. This will help reduce the cost for heaters to go in there and kind of cool the concrete and everything. So a lot of progress is being made. Terry will talk a little bit more about that. Currently, there is no update on IDOT. White has called 7 times to IDOT and got no calls back in the last month. So we're still waiting on IDOT. There is also, they have a member on the staff who's retired IDOT worker trying to pull some strings and get nowhere. So we're still waiting on IDOT. So there is no update. We are reanalyzing the additional work elements there. We are looking at elevators currently to get a more firm price for that. There are, with Sourcewell, the joint purchasing, they do have elevators included on that. So we're looking through that right now. Tomorrow, we actually have a meeting to review all fixtures, furnitures, and equipment list. So staff internally will be reviewing that to make sure everything is included. South Park is currently underway. If you haven't driven by South Park, the playground is gone. Construction fence up, slit fence is up as well. And then we'll go move on to the tennis courts next. So progress is being made. Terry will talk more about that in his update. We are currently looking at Hinckley Park for ribbon cutting. We are pinpointing potentially the date of September 19th. It's our next upcoming board meeting beforehand at 5:30. We're looking to invite local legislators who helped us with the DECIO grant and the OSLAD grant for the project, and also City of Park Ridge individuals as well. So please look at your calendars to see if September 16th would work, and we'll finalize a date and send it out to everybody. I believe it's the 19th. I'm sorry, I don't mean 16th. It's the 19th. It's the Thursday. But that will be their ribbon cutting with the color coding for the basketball courts happening this week. Next, this week starts the exciting executive director meet and greets. Next week, it will on the 21st, we'll be at South Park, and we'll moving on to different parks throughout the next couple of weeks. So 6 p.m. next Tuesday are the meet and greets. As we now appointed Mary Beth as our deputy secretary, I do want to give a shout out to the entire staff for the First Amendment audit. There was a lot of training that Allison and Jenny Myers has done with their staff. Mary Beth, she was the star of the show. If you haven't seen the video, she's done a terrific job and represent the district in a positive light. But a huge shout out to all the staff on who participated in that throughout the year. As you see, we're making some changes to make sure that the data is easily accessible for everybody. There was a nice new poster on the wall that's been posted at various sites. So just huge shout out to staff. And overall, thank you to all the staff in every department for a successful summer. It's been a great summer. Time's been flying by. We've accomplished a lot, but a huge shout out to the whole entire staff. So thank you.
Great. We'll say the same to you. Thank you.
I have a question. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Moving on. Did you say that the Beyond the Bell agreement expired?
It was an IGA that expired at the end of July. I've been
Okay.
talking to Ben Collins about it. It was a year-long agreement.
Uh-huh.
It gets reviewed annually. Last year, it looked like it was reviewed in either October or November was when it was renewed, and it expires like July 1st. So
Should it just expire at a different time?
Ben
Is the
Collins-
timing bad
Yeah,
to
we-
have it expire in the middle of the summer?
yeah, we would.
It's like yes.
Yeah, Ben Collins and I met in July to briefly talk about it. We're
Yeah.
moving through it. So with us both being fairly new to the positions, we'll talk about how we could extend it and have this timeline sync up correctly so it doesn't conflict with everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question. They could kick us out tomorrow. All done?
That's it.
Marketing and public relations.
Good evening. My report's on page 11 and 12 of the board packet. I'm just going to give you a few highlights. The autumn brochure was released this past month, but in autumn, we also do an annual newsletter that gets mailed to every household that contains our financial information and also a review of our capital projects. And then it gives a second push for that second session of autumn programs. So that's going to be mailed on September 30th, and we're working on that right now. You'll see in your board packet, we designed the Oakton logo. That was done in conjunction with a lot of the recreation staff and some of the administration staff. So a lot of voices, and this is where we ended up. It ties into our main logo really well and coordinates with that. The only other thing I wanted to touch on, Executive Director Shea did mention the stroll back to school bash last night. Thank you to those who were there. The event raises money for the Park Ridge Friends of the Parks, and $3,250 was donated to the Friends of the Parks. So we appreciate that relationship, and we're grateful for the donation and all the sponsors. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thanks to you and John for so much work making that happen yesterday.
Thank
There
you.
were some technical difficulties. I think they got a lot of steps in. I loved the throwback Facebook Oakton. Yeah, that was super. Those pictures were great.
I do have to give credit. That was a patron's suggestion when we were at Canopies on Cortland. She had brought up it and talked about how she was trying to explain this to her kids and she couldn't find pictures. And I had just ran across an album with those pictures. So I'm like, oh, I have those. And she's like, oh, you should tie it into the opening ceremony. I said, great idea. So I do have to give the nameless patron credit. I don't know who she was. She's a teacher, though. Yeah.
We'll move on to Allison for Human Resources.
Thank you. Good evening. Just a couple highlights from my report. End of next week, we'll have finished up hopefully the second round of interviews for the fitness supervisor role. That leaves us on track to hopefully have someone in the role by end of August, early September. So that's great news. Manager Myers distributed the LifeVac choking aid devices to all the AED cabinets. That's a great device to have as an additional support if needed. She also distributed training videos and opportunities for staff to come see training on how to utilize it. It's pretty simple, but kudos to her on providing that for the district. And then I just wanted to, again, sort of going off of what Executive Director Shea commented on, applaud the staff for successfully navigating through the audit. All staff did a great job, and thank you to Mary Beth and Margaret for creating those posters, and to Jennifer Myers for creating the binders with the required documents and everyone distributing to the facilities. So great team effort, and it's much appreciated. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Is there a LifeVac in this building?
Do we have any idea? Yeah.
Should we maybe get the videos?
I could ask her to share the video.
Somebody might know. Somebody
That's a
might
great
choke on
question.
a sandwich or something.
Sandwich?
Yeah. I'll ask her to share.
I mean,
Yeah.
No, that's a great question. Thank you.
not as much as you all are, but who knows?
Yeah, we can definitely pass that along.
All right, great stuff. Finance. It's all on you.
Well, did you? There's a hand raised. Oh, there you go. All right, take it away.
Right. Unfortunately, Superintendent Larson could not be here tonight for an illness. She wanted me to extend her gratitude, the whole finance gratitude actually, to the aquatics department. They did a great job this year with the pool cashier audits. The head cashier was amazing with communication to the finance department. So a huge shout out goes to the aquatics department. Special thank you to April, Ethan, and Jenna for all their assistance throughout the training. So really good year this year for the pool audits. Anybody that you talk to, Angela, Susie, Lucy, or Karen, they all speak very highly of what was done this year at the cash controls for the pool cashiers. As you can see in your board packet, which began on page 14, the tax installment, the second tax installment was received in July. The recreation revenue is currently tracking 9% higher than budgeted. This can be seen with the record numbers for camps this past summer. The overall variance in the district's fund balance is due to the timing of capital expenses versus budgeted capital spending. As we stated earlier, the budget timeline is included in the board packet. Staff are preparing the preliminary budgets as we speak. All information is due to MSI by September 20th, and we'll begin reviewing them at that time with myself and Superintendent Larson. Our upcoming board meetings, just to point out, now we do have 3 meetings in October. October 3rd, we will review the estimated tax levy, moving on with a more comprehensive budget presentation on October 29th. There was also a question presented at a prior board meeting regarding how much cash we had in hand and put it into potentially into a short-term investment fund. We've had meetings with PMA and Fifth Third Bank. The one thing we have to look out for, there's a certain amount of money to have in our bank account where we won't have banking fees. And currently we exceed that, so we don't pay bank fees. So when it goes under a certain amount, we acquire more fees. So we're working with Fifth Third to talk about what that amount is to have in the bank before we start acquiring more fees, service fees. Also, we have about, just looking at White's projected work for the rest of the year, that includes the past month of July through December 31st of this year, probably about $15 million in additional expenses for that project. That does not include any owner purchase items. So there would be more expenses. We also have another bond payment that we'll pay in November that's due in December. So we're monitoring to see how much cash we have on hand and where putting the money into a short-term investment, what interest we can make on that compared to additional banking fees. So we've been working with both PMA and Fifth Third on that to see what's in our best interest of the district. So we're still working through that. About a week and a half ago, we did have a meeting with Fifth Third, waiting on getting more information back from them as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions at this time?
So no video requests this month. Does that mean that there is less vandalism, or does it mean that the cameras aren't covering
No,
the areas that might have been damaged?
Superintendent Wolf, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but in his report, there were no vandalism reports for the month of July. So it was really good to see that. So they both,
Summon the demons.
they,
Fountain.
they both tied together with, yes. So it was a good month of July.
All right, good. Just check.
Hold on here. Oh, yes, okay, I move to approve the payments of expenditures in the total amount of $3,290,308.87.
Second.
Thank you. And any discussion? Okay, none. All right, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Tunnel,
Aye.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Halting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Aye.
Commissioner Matza,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Aye. Turn it over to recreation.
Yeah. Lucky me. And all right. Basically, I get to turn that over to our executive director.
Thank you. The Recreation Department update begins on page number 16 in your board packet. The county farm fair was a huge success with over 900 people in attendance throughout the time. Kudos to Jenny, Molly, Maggie, Kara, Brooke, and Julie for all their hard work. There was a pie eating contest that looked pretty appetizing, but what we ended up doing too to make additional revenue, there was extra pies. We started selling the pieces of pies. So all the pies went out, and it was the best 50 cents you could spend for a slice of pie. So kids had a great time at this event. Prior to the farm fair, a couple weeks prior, we had the Early Childhood Expo. It was held on a Saturday morning. There was roughly about 100 families that attended. Including your packet were the preschool enrollment numbers. Since the report has been printed, there was 14 more people that have signed up. So roughly, we're at 269 participants compared to 274 of last year. And please remember that preschool registration remains open through the month of August, so we could see an increase there as well. As we talked earlier in the finance section, camp had a wonderful year. There was a total of 9,826 participants, which is roughly about a 7.5 increase from 2023, which is 683 more participants in the prior year. This was to reformatting camp, find additional space, getting more space with the school district. But overall, I believe that staff did a phenomenal job with the offerings this year. As we talked earlier, Beyond the Bell started this week. We're currently reviewing our operations. looking at the wait list and seeing what staffing we could hire and kind of going from there. Athletic programs continue to grow compared to 2023. The Nature Center welcomed 3,709 visitors in July. There were various events held at the Centennial Activity Center, 119 participants in programs as Christmas in July, an ice cream social. There was one event that staff participated into, the art of charcuterie. There was a whole class on charcuterie boards and what to include. And then there were 32 participants in the July trips for the activity center. In the fitness center, we held free Sunday morning yoga classes in the month of July. One weekend was canceled due to inclement weather, but we did see over 250 participants across the 3 weeks that program was offered. As Allison stated earlier, we are currently holding interviews for the fitness supervisor position. They went through the first round of interviews and moving on to the second. We got some great candidates and looking for them to start probably in the middle of September due to timing with the final interviews. We also held a open house at the fitness center that saw about 49 visitors. 14 of those resulted in new memberships. And then if you look at personal training, as we talked throughout the whole year, there has been increase throughout the year. If you compare July just to last year, it's about 98% increase higher. I know that Justin is working with the personal trainers and looking at their schedule to make sure we are accommodating the people that are attending our programs. The aquatic outdoor season is coming to an end quickly. The South Park pool, our wading pool, is closed. I don't want you to think that's open still while they're doing construction. The playground's gone, but it closed last Sunday. Hinkley Pool will close after tomorrow with the Flick and Float. Last month's Flick and Float was canceled due to inclement weather, so we're looking forward to having a good one tomorrow. And then Centennial Pool is on limited hours due to staffing going back to school, open less during the week, and will remain open through Labor Day. For Prospect Park Splash Pad will be open through Labor Day as well with the regular hours. Huge shout out to everyone in the aquatics department, and also big thank you to the parks department for all their time and effort making sure the chemicals balanced. When pumps went down, they got them up quickly. But it was a great, wonderful aquatic season. The aquatic audits were conducted this year, both by Stargard and Paderma, and our staff did a phenomenal job both ways. I talked to Ethan and Jenna personally about the audits with Stargard. They're pleased with their lifeguards and their various events. And then also the Paderma walkthrough was phenomenal, in my opinion, from everything we got a report. And there were minor things with a little maintenance work here and there, but nothing major to be concerned about. It was a great aquatic season. And with the Riptides, they scored first place in the Northern Illinois Conference Division B championship meet that was held here. And they'll be moving on to Division A next year. So
You just got to be, right?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe so.
Pretty close to 1 year or
Yeah.
2 years.
Where's that winning charcuterie board?
We did. But it was a good event. Staff loved it. And so did the public. I am now open to any questions about the rec department that I can answer.
Go ahead.
Is there going to be a survey sent out to camp? Has that already gone out, Margaret? You're on it. On it.
I'm working with Manager Grieve to finalize those. I was hoping to get them out by the end
Okay.
of the week, but Manager Grieve has had some time off, so we're trying to
All right.
just coordinate.
The yoga was a big success for my daughter. She really would love to see it expanded to more than just July. So,
Thank you.
Did you make it to yoga, John?
I did not. I tried.
Sure. I'm glad you took the day off. Yes, sir. All right, buildings and grounds.
all right, buildings and grounds, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Wolf.
Thank you. My report's on, looks like page 41 of your board packet. One item, though, I do want to bring up that is not in the board packet, though you may have heard either through Executive Director Shea's reports or email that went out to all staff, was that Thomas Preto, one of our maintenance staff, has decided to resign his position. He's going back to school to become an aviation mechanic. So we did have a farewell lunch for him yesterday for the Buildings and Grounds Department, which was well received by everybody, just to wish him well. Today was his last day, and he'll be starting classes on Monday. So we're gonna miss him. We do have the job posted internally as required by the union. So we'll be working on filling that position, but bit of a shame. He was a a good, hardworking person. He's only been here for 2 years, brought a lot of energy to our department, so we'll certainly miss him, but absolutely wish him the best, and we're just glad we're not losing him to Wilmette. So, so South Park, moving on to South Park really quickly. It did get started this week. The contractor was to come out, mark some utilities, put up some silt fencing, kind of get started on a little bit of, demolition. And they just went right at it, which they got a little bit further ahead than what we were even anticipating. So it caught us a little bit off guard. So we had to hurry up and catch up with some communication with Margaret so she could let everyone know. But sometimes that's, I guess, a good problem to have. Just actually what we've learned is that they are planning on running 2 separate crews, and they're going to try to catch up on lost time due to the MWRD permitting. And so they're going to actually have a crew working over on the playground, and they're going to have a crew working over on the tennis courts. So it's going to look busy out there. We'll see where it goes. They are aiming towards completion this fall, but we know there's some changes and things that happen with delivery of the playground that may not allow that to actually happen. So we're still stating that it's going to be, spring of next year, because we don't know if everything's going to actually be delivered. So it'll be a nail biter and a wait and see, but there's going to be a lot of activity. So it'll be a last minute finish, we got it done, or it'll be, well, we almost had it, but we didn't quite get there. And so it'll be the spring. But either way, the dedication, I think, from the contractor is good. And Jennifer's been really happy with the conversations that she had over just the last few days and what they're seeing out there. So, so more to come on that. Turning just back to Oakton, as Executive Director Shea has mentioned, there's a lot going on out there. Even in the pictures, you can see that they've, excavated and prepped for concrete for the underground detention. As of this week, I was driving next to the storm trap pieces coming into work down 294, and they've already got the concrete foundation on the bottom is poured, and the storm trap precast pieces are already being placed out there. So, so that's getting ready. They're getting themselves in a good position to get that underway, which allows them to then continue with the rest of the stormwater detention and all the other things that have to happen on the site and the site work. They started digging across the driving range this week so that they can make their utility connection to the sewer that's on the far west side. So they had to dig a hole. They were 17 feet into the ground. There was a guy at the bottom of that 17 feet coring a 2-foot hole into a 6-foot concrete pipe that's down there for sanitary sewer. So just some amazing things that are going on out there just to make this project a reality, and just to see some of that stuff and the infrastructure that's in the ground and around is pretty crazy. So, but anyway, there's a lot going on out there, and we also are working with the team. I spent some time to confirm just the maintenance items with the landscape bid, just to make sure that that's all in order. We do have 1-year maintenance on the general landscape, but then a 3-year maintenance on any seating to make sure that whoever's installing it has some level of responsibility. So I was happy to see that those conversations made their way into the bids, and that that's all being held the way it should be. So, so that's pretty much it for Oakton, and I guess I'll just leave it to any questions that anyone might have for anything else in my area. As mentioned, we did not have any vandalism for this time period, so knock on wood again. There's always a couple of different, board reports over the course of the year that happens. So it's just kind of hit and miss, So yeah, I think everybody gets tired from all the hard work and vandalizing they do at the 3rd of July, 4th of July time period. So they need a little break. They're off on vacation right before they got to go back to school, and they'll get bored in a few more weeks. But anyway, seriously, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on my board report.
Quick question is with the affiliates using South Park fields, I see from time to time some practices going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still okay for them to do that? Or?
Yeah, that field's going to be playable, usable for this whole season. When we looked at it, because we'll obviously have a new picnic shelter and restroom facility that'll be coming into the north end of that field there. It's just, we're going to be shifting that field just a little bit to the south. We laid that out, worked it out, talked it through with the rec staff that helped coordinate all those fields with our affiliates, and we've got enough room there. So we'll just be shifting it, lining it up over there. They'll have no problem using it. So there might be some construction around the edges of it, but
There's a lot going on over there.
yeah, yeah,
I saw that this morning.
yeah. So
Will the tennis courts, will some of them remain open or no?
tennis courts are completely closed down.
Okay, sorry, yeah, no, so no tennis courts at all.
No tennis courts, completely closed down. In fact, the fencing may already be completely removed and nets pulled and everything already. So, because they have to do a grind and overlay, so for them to do all that and get the infrastructure done, they have to take all that stuff
Is it
down. So
expanding a little or no?
it is not expanding in size. So, but when we met with the recreation team prior to the project, a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so ago, they had indicated that they were moving any of their programming already over to Hinckley. And so we were just putting up notices for the public so that they know that, I guess, some Hinckley courts and other places would be available for them while we do this. So
So the grinding is just for the top surface of the courts?
correct.
Is that Hacienda?
Not Hacienda.
Okay. So all our equipment should be around. I was just
mean,
wondering, like, when you
yeah.
said, yeah.
Not Hacienda. I actually, it's a company we hadn't worked with, but they had gotten really good responses on when we did the reference checks.
Mhm.
Thank you, Margaret. Reference checks. So we're excited to get a chance to work with them, and they seem very energetic. So
It's exciting that it can get in maybe this year.
yeah,
That would be a
yeah.
kudos.
No promises, but as we know that construction is
Weather
very
might
fluid.
help.
But
Yeah, the weather might help.
yeah.
On the landscaping, we're gonna get a change order, right? No.
Well, there'll be a change order, but because it's going to be within the overall
Okay.
GMP, it's not something that the board will have to authorize. They're still working on pulling together the pricing, but they do have all that. They're working on pricing it out right now.
All right.
So, yep.
Anybody else?
I had a question. In the further down the report with the other things you had done, we had replaced 2 circulating pumps, or we had rebuilt one and replaced one in the last month. The 2 separate pools, I'm assuming. Or
Yeah.
One was the splash pad, correct, or something?
Right. So, I'm trying to remind myself here.
Yeah.
Building staff. Yep. So the chlorinator pump is like not a, they're kind of made to wear out, sort of. They're not that big, not that expensive. It's just as a hassle because it's kind of a takes everything down for a little bit and they have to put the thing up. But it's a plastic wall mounted centrifugal pump that has like a rubber hose around it that it kind of uses to fill the chlorine. So that's the chlorine pump. But we did have the pump the previous month, I believe it was, for the leisure pool or the wading pool at Centennial. That went down. That was the original pump from the wading pool.
Mhm.
So that wasn't replaced when we replaced the pool. When we did the aquatic center, we didn't replace
10
those
plus years
pumps.
ago.
So it was
Yeah.
10 plus years ago. So
That was the new pump. That was the $15,000 thing, right? I was looking through the expense report. I should have made a note.
it might be, but so the one that went down at the fitness or at the aquatic center for the wading pool is being covered by Paderma. So
Oh, okay.
so we'll have $1,000 deductible
All right. No, I
as our out of pocket expense.
There was 2 expenses last month where it was 2 pumps. One was rebuild, one was new, and the total was like between the 2 was like $20-something thousand. And I was just wondering if they were wear and tear. It's something we didn't really budget, or like you said, if it's 2013, it's over 10 years old, then it was probably just something that just failed.
Yeah, well, yeah, it might have been the one that just failed, but we also had over the course of the last year, we also had another pump fail over at the fitness center. And so we had already rebuilt a pump and had it sitting there. So it might be that one of the rebuild costs might have been the rebuild. Like we decided to have the other one sitting there sent back out for rebuild. So I'd have to look at that. So I will get back to you and follow up with you on what those costs were specifically.
Yeah, no, I found the one on the report. It was the wading pool filter pump.
Mm-hmm.
It was $14,000.
Okay, that's what it was.
But if it was something from 2013, is that what we're talking about? Or is it something totally different?
So, Terry, Superintendent Wolf, correct me if I'm wrong, that wading pool at Centennial Aquatic Center was not replaced when the pool was replaced. So that
It was
pump's
not.
older than 10 years old.
Okay.
It is older than 10 years old for sure, but we also had another pump sometime this year, so I don't know what the timing of
I
it.
guess that was my one question. Is I saw a pump and a rebuild and a new pump, and I'm like, that's a lot of money just for pumps. But
Yeah, well, we have a lot of pumps in this park
I know.
district and a lot of money. We should be spending more on these pumps in this park district, so. yeah.
but I'm assuming it wasn't budgeted that they would, because that's a bigger expense. All right. Thank you.
Coming soon to a capital budget near you.
We'll sing a duet into this. Why is that? What's up with the IDOT permit? Why? Is there?
Are you done asking?
They're just because I thought it felt like they were moving along, but maybe I was not. Maybe I'm a crazy person.
So, we had sent it in.
Right.
They looked at it, they responded back,
Uh-huh.
but the responses, as you recall a while back, had indicated to us that they hadn't really, it didn't seem as though they had really looked at all the information that was provided because the traffic studies and everything that were completed and done
Mm-hmm.
suggested that there's no need for a turn lane. Yet their response was, hey, you should probably do a turn lane. So we had a follow-up with it saying, but no, we don't understand it. See these specific comments, and there were other comments like, there were other items within some of the responses and that we had to turn in that they didn't even acknowledge, like the way that they responded to us, they were asking for information that had
Okay.
already been provided.
Okay.
And so when we reached out to
It
have
wasn't
a
tit for
conversation,
tat here.
when
Yeah.
we reached out to try to talk through that, they said, your response needs to be in writing. They wouldn't allow us to just have a
Okay.
verbal conversation. And so we put those responses in writing, and they said, great, it'll take several months for us to get back now. Thank you. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to reach out to say, but no, wait, we gave you all that stuff
Yeah.
already. We were just trying to
Yeah.
make sure you saw all the stuff we gave
Yeah.
you with the original submission. Can you please just give us a little bit of something here?
They bought
you
some
see
time.
that?
They bought
And
time.
they're like, yes, we'll be back to you in several months. And so that's where White is saying, all right, we know a guy. We're going to try to make a phone call and see if we can get a response. So it's not that
Okay.
everything was moving along well. We
Okay.
provided all the information. We have everything.
No, I
it
didn't think that
says.
we did anything
No, no,
wrong.
no,
I
right,
just didn't
but-
know what their excuse
And that's
was.
why it's especially frustrating, because we've gone through the process of providing them
Yeah.
with everything, and they will not have a verbal conversation or in-person conversation.
Got it. So we're gonna have to wait months to know if we need to pay for that turn lane?
And then even that just might be the next conversation we have. That just might be the response on that. So, I mean, it could.
They're not back to
it
work.
could be a while.
They've never returned to the office. They are completely remote.
They still need to do their jobs.
You can review a document from the comfort of your home. All right. Thank you, Terry, for that explanation.
And I'll pass it over to policy with Commissioner Matza.
Nothing to report.
Intergovernmental?
I want to thank your team. I know you guys have done a lot of stuff with everything going on in the city with the various events. I know Buildings and Grounds has done a lot of stuff to help keep the parks clean and prepared. And just want to say thank you on behalf of intergovernmental section of the park district.
You're just trying to extend the meeting
We're happy
a
to
little
do it.
longer.
For which I'm grateful. Appreciate it.
Communications and correspondence.
What? Intergovernmental, I have something to
Oh, the
ask. That's-
bikes.
Yeah. So, the road diet on Bussy is supposed to move forward. There's going to be a vote on Monday because IDOT is bringing an extra expense on them for because the configuration of the road is different. So they need to do a cost share for new signals or something like that. Cindy, I thought somebody said something to you about, or was it you? They wanted a note from the park district
Well,
about,
that,
or is that
I
not?
was contacted
Okay.
briefly if they needed a note, would we be in support for it? So that's all it was. They didn't
Okay.
ask for anything in writing yet.
Okay.
They would get back to us if something happened.
Okay.
Does the park district still support this project? And based on conversations I've had with other members, I said yes. I brought it briefly
Okay.
up to Commissioner Grau. But there has been nobody's reached out to me
Back.
since
Okay.
that. There was just a conversation at Rotary. Someone came up to me and told me about it, and they said they'd get back to me, and I haven't heard anything else.
Okay. Okay.
so would they wait for it to fail to ask us for a note?
I don't, I have a feeling council knows that this board would be in support, but the vote is on Monday.
I
So
have it on my calendar.
I just wanted to ask about. I
Yeah.
remembered that once I walked in tonight that there
Yeah,
was
I
I forgot also.
Does anyone have any different feedback than we're in support of bike lanes on Bussy, right by our park? So I can speak on behalf of the board. If it comes to that, because you can't go to the meeting,
I can't go.
Miss Bike Lady.
Hey, it's not like me going helps anymore.
I'm kidding. It doesn't. It's not like I'm. Anyway, talk to your alder
Yeah,
alder
I just
people.
wanted to make sure that.
And if anybody wants to go, I'll see you there. So, hopefully
Thank you,
it's not late
President Grau.
meeting. Yeah, great to remember that. Anyway, good. Communications and correspondence. Do you want to take that one too?
I'm gonna pass this over to Superintendent Wolf.
There's a email that I received in the board packet. We do have an employee here, Amato Cabrera, goes by AC, works in our facilities division. It outlines some extreme lengths he went through to help out, and all for naught in the long run, but nonetheless, he was happy to help dig through some garbage looking for something, and I think that was very admirable of him to do that, and just the type of thing you like to hear about your staff. So, and it doesn't surprise me because he's always a very cheerful individual. So, just wanted to share that and give him a shout out and thank him for his service. So,
Great. Not a lot of people get pats on the back when they do dirty jobs. So. New business. New business? No? All right. I move to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?